In the glittering world of 1961 Hollywood, one film would capture hearts and define an entire generation's idea of sophistication and romance. But beneath the surface of Breakfast at Tiffany's lies a detail so subtle, so carefully hidden, that even the most devoted fans have walked away without noticing it. This isn't just about a missed prop or a continuity error. This is about a deliberate choice that reveals the true heartbreak at the center of Audrey Hepburn's most iconic performance. Today, we're going to uncover the secret that changes everything you thought you knew about Holly Golightly. The morning mist clung to Fifth Avenue as the film crew prepared for what would become cinema's most recognizable opening scene. It was early autumn 1960, and Audrey Hepburn stood before the gleaming windows of Tiffany & Co., clutching a paper bag containing a Danish and coffee. Little did the world know, this seemingly simple moment would birth an icon that would transcend generations. But as Hepburn gazed longingly through those pristine windows, something else was happening, something the cameras captured but audiences would overlook for decades. In her eyes, reflected against the glass, was not just the yearning of Holly Golightly, but the pain of a woman who understood what it meant to feel displaced, rootless, and searching for home. The detail we're about to explore isn't written in any script or mentioned in any behind-the-scenes documentary. It's woven into the very fabric of the film, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to finally piece together its significance. This morning on Fifth Avenue wasn't just the birth of a movie, it was the moment. Audrey Hepburn channeled her own deepest fears and desires into a character that would haunt audiences forever. The crew members that day later recalled how Hepburn seemed to disappear into Holly, how her usual warmth and professionalism gave way to something more vulnerable, more raw. They were witnessing something extraordinary, an actress not just playing a role, but living it, breathing it, becoming it in ways that would leave invisible scars on every frame of film. To understand the detail that changes everything about Breakfast at Tiffany's, we must first understand the woman wearing that iconic Givenchy gown. Audrey Hepburn arrived in Hollywood carrying secrets that would make Holly Golightly's mysterious past seem simple by comparison. Born during the chaos of World War II, she had witnessed starvation, lived through Nazi occupation, and watched her world crumble before she was even 20. The elegant, refined image the world fell in love with was carefully constructed armor, protecting a woman who had learned early that survival meant reinventing herself, becoming whoever you needed to be. When she read Truman Capote's novella, something stirred deep within her, a recognition so profound it was almost painful. Holly Golightly wasn't just a character to Audrey. She was a mirror reflecting her own journey of transformation, her own desperate need to escape the ghosts of her past. The morning routine at Tiffany's, standing outside looking in at a world of luxury and security, spoke to something primal in Hepburn's soul. She too had been the outsider, pressing her face against the glass of a life she could only dream of entering. Director Blake Edwards noticed it immediately during rehearsals. There was something in Audrey's interpretation that went beyond acting, beyond mere performance. She was channeling something real, something raw, something that would make Holly Golightly not just a character, but a living, breathing embodiment of longing itself. The cameras were about to capture lightning in a model, but even Edwards couldn't have predicted just how deeply personal this performance would become. While the world was mesmerized by the glamour of Audrey's wardrobe, costume, designer Edith Head was weaving a secret language into every thread, every accessory, every carefully chosen detail. The famous little black dress by Givenchy might have stolen the spotlight, but it was Head's subtle additions that told the real story of Holly Golightly's fractured soul. Look closely at Holly's jewelry throughout the film. Really look. Wow. Her outfits scream sophistication and wealth. Her accessories tell a different story entirely. Mixed among the pearls and diamonds are small, almost invisible pieces that don't belong. A simple silver chain here, a worn ring there, items that speak not of luxury, but of sentiment, of a past she can't quite leave behind. The detail that changes everything lies in these contradictions. These tiny rebels against Holly's carefully constructed facade. Had understood that authenticity lives in the smallest choices, the unconscious, habits that reveal who we really are beneath our masks. She dressed Holly not just as a socialite, but as a woman playing dress-up, someone who had studied wealth and sophistication from the outside and was now trying desperately to perform it convincingly. In private conversations with Audrey, Head revealed that every costume choice was deliberate, every accessory a breadcrumb leading back to Holly's true identity. The secret they embedded in the film was hiding in these details, waiting for audiences to realize that Holly's entire wardrobe was a performance, a beautiful lie that would eventually shatter under the weight of its own contradictions. Every morning, Holly Golightly stands before Tiffany's windows with her breakfast, performing a ritual that seems charming and whimsical to casual viewers. But those who look deeper see something far more heartbreaking. A woman trying to convince herself she belongs to a world that will never truly accept her. The detail that escaped notice for 60 years isn't what Holly eats for breakfast. It's what she never eats at all. Watch her hands throughout that opening scene. Watch how she holds that pastry, how she positions the coffee cup. For a woman supposedly having breakfast, Holly never takes a single bite, ever sips that coffee. She's not eating. She's performing the act of belonging, staging a tableau of the life she wishes she could live. This wasn't a directing choice or an acting mistake. It was pure instinct. Audrey's unconscious understanding that Holly was too nervous, too anxious, too busy maintaining her facade to actually nourish herself. The breakfast becomes a prop in an elaborate performance, a symbol of the sustenance Holly craves, but can never quite allow herself to receive. The tragedy of Holly Golightly isn't just that she's running from her past. It's that she's starving herself in the present, denying herself the very things she claims to want most. The breakfast at Tiffany's is a perfect metaphor for her entire existence. Beautiful, aspirational, and ultimately empty. She feeds her dreams while her soul slowly starves. The windows of Tiffany and Co. serve as more than just a backdrop. They become a complex metaphor that most viewers miss entirely. Throughout the film, Holly is constantly seen through glass. Windows, mirrors, sunglasses, even the glass of her own apartment building. But it's in that opening scene where the most profound detail reveals itself. As Holly gazes into the Tiffany's window, the camera captures something extraordinary. Her reflection doesn't quite align with her physical presence. There's a subtle disconnection, a split-second delay that suggests Holly exists in two worlds simultaneously, the real world where she stands on the sidewalk and the reflected world where her dreams live. This isn't a technical glitch or editing error. It's a carefully orchestrated visual metaphor that reveals the core of Holly's character. She's never fully present in her own life. She's always partially somewhere else, living in the reflection, in the dream, in the possibility of what might be rather than what is. The detail that changes everything is this. Throughout the entire film, Holly is more substantial in reflections than she is in reality. Watch her in mirrors, in windows, in any reflective surface, and you'll see a woman who exists more fully in the world of dreams and aspirations than in the harsh light of actual day. The windows at Tiffany's don't just show her desire, they show her displacement, her fundamental disconnection from the world around her. Truman Capote's dialogue crackles with wit and sophistication, but the detail that went unnoticed for decades lies not in what Holly says, but in what she never says. Throughout the entire film, Holly Golightly never once uses the word home. She talks about places she's been, places she's going, but never about home. This wasn't an oversight in the script. It was a deliberate choice that reveals the deepest wound in Holly's psyche. She's a woman without a home, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. Every word she speaks is carefully chosen to maintain distance, to keep people from getting too close to the void at her center. Listen to how Holly talks about her past. Always in vague terms, always with humor that deflects deeper inquiry. She's mastered the art of saying everything while revealing nothing. The famous line about the mean reds comes closest to honesty, but even then, she wraps her vulnerability in metaphor, in safe language that keeps her true feelings at arm's length. The detail that changes everything is this pattern of avoidance, this linguistic dance around the words that might actually heal her. Holly has created a vocabulary of displacement, a way of speaking that keeps her perpetually in motion, never having to settle into the dangerous territory of authentic emotion. She's fluent in the language of loneliness, but she's forgotten how to speak the words that might set her free. Cat Holly's nameless feline companion represents far more than a quirky pet. This detail, overlooked by most viewers, reveals the most profound truth about Holly's character. She refuses to name the cat because she refuses to claim anything is permanently hers. To name something is to acknowledge love, to admit attachment, to risk the pain of loss. The cat becomes Holly's mirror, reflecting her own nameless existence. Just as she has shed her real name, Lula Mae Barnes, for the invented Holly Golightly, she keeps the cat in the same liminal space, loved but not, claimed, cherished, but held at a distance. The parallel is heartbreaking once you see it. Both Holly and Cat are creatures without true names, without real homes, drifting through life beautiful but untethered. Watch how Holly interacts with Cat throughout the film. There's tenderness, there genuine affection, but always with an invisible barrier. She feeds Cat, protects Cat, even talks to Cat, but she never fully embraces the relationship. It's a perfect metaphor for how Holly approaches all her connections, with one foot always pointed toward the exit. The detail that changes everything is this: every time Holly looks at Cat, she's looking at herself. The cat's green eyes reflect her own. Its independence mirrors her own. Its refusal to be truly owned echoes her own deepest fear of commitment. Cat isn't just Holly's companion. Cat is Holly's conscience, the part of herself she can't quite abandon, but can't quite embrace either. Holly's famous parties seem like celebrations of life and friendship, but the hidden detail reveals something far more desperate. These aren't parties at all. They're elaborate performances of happiness, designed to fill the silence that terrifies her most. Watch Holly during her own parties. Really watch her. She's never still, never quiet, never truly present in any single conversation. The detail that went unnoticed is this: Holly never enjoys her own parties. She orchestrates them. She performs in them, but she's never actually part of them. She's like a director watching her own play, making sure all the actors hit their marks while remaining forever outside the actual experience of joy, the crowd of strangers that fills her apartment. Each night serves a specific purpose. They provide noise, distraction, evidence of a life being lived. But observe how Holly moves through these crowds. She's surrounded by people, but fundamentally alone, touching dozens of hands, but never truly connecting with another soul. The parties are elaborate stage sets for a life she's not actually living. What makes this detail so heartbreaking is that Holly clearly craves connection, craves community, craves the very thing these parties promise but never deliver. She's created a social life that looks abundant from the outside but leaves her emptier than solitude ever could. The laughter and music that fill her apartment are just sophisticated forms of silence, elaborate ways of avoiding the conversations that might actually matter. In Holly's stylish apartment sits a pink telephone that becomes one of the film's most overlooked symbols. While audiences focus on the glamorous decor and fashionable furnishings, they miss the telephone's tragic significance. It's always perfectly positioned, always within reach, but it never brings Holly the call she's really waiting for. Watch how Holly interacts with that phone throughout the film. She uses it to make calls, yes, but notice her body language, her hesitation before dialing, the way she holds the receiver as if it might bite her. The telephone represents connection, but for Holly, it's more often a tool of performance than genuine communication. The detail that changes everything is this: the phone calls we see Holly make are never to people who truly know her. They're to potential benefactors, to men who might fund her lifestyle, to connections that serve her constructed identity rather than her authentic self. The pink telephone, meant to be a symbol of feminine sophistication, becomes instead a symbol of Holly's emotional isolation. The most heartbreaking moment comes when Holly sits beside the phone in silence, not making any calls at all. In these quiet moments, we see the truth. She's not waiting for just any call. She's waiting for a call that will never come, from someone who might love her for who she really is, rather than who she pretends to be. The telephone's pink perfection mocks her, a beautiful object that connects her to everyone and no one at all. Among Holly's possessions sits a small detail that most viewers never notice: a New York Public Library card tucked into her purse, pristine and unused. This tiny prop reveals volumes about Holly's character and the life she might have lived if she'd had the courage to stop running long enough to truly discover who she was. The library card represents education, self-improvement, the quiet pursuit of knowledge, everything that Holly's lifestyle actively avoids. She's created an existence based on surface charm and quick wit, but the presence of that unused library card suggests a deeper hunger for substance, for growth, for the kind of quiet contemplation her nomadic lifestyle makes impossible. Detail becomes even more poignant when we consider Holly's obvious intelligence. She's sharp, observant, capable of profound insights when she lets her guard down. But her chosen life requires constant motion, constant performance, leaving no time for the slow, patient work of actually educating herself, of building the kind of inner richness that might sustain her when the parties end and the admirers move on. The library card becomes a symbol of paths not taken, of the woman Holly might have been if she'd chosen depth over surface, substance over style. It's a small tragedy, this pristine card representing all the books never read, all the quiet afternoons never spent in contemplation, all the growth and learning that Holly has sacrificed in her desperate flight from her authentic self. In Holly's bathroom hangs an antique mirror with an ornate silver frame, and it's in this mirror that we find perhaps the most revealing detail in the entire film. Unlike the other reflective surfaces throughout the movie, this mirror shows Holly exactly as she is, but only when she thinks no one is watching. The scenes in Holly's bathroom provide the only moments in the film where we see her completely unguarded, away from the parties, away from the performance, away from Paul's scrutinizing gaze. Holly faces herself in this mirror with a vulnerability that's almost painful to witness. The detail that went unnoticed is this: Holly's reflection in this particular mirror never lies. While every other mirror in the film shows Holly as she wants to be seen, glamorous, confident, untouchable, this bathroom mirror reflects her exhaustion, her fear, her desperate loneliness. Watch these scenes carefully, and you'll see a different woman entirely. Someone fragile, someone lost, someone so tired of performing that she can barely stand to look at herself. The ornate frame of the mirror becomes significant too. It's the only genuinely beautiful, substantial piece in Holly's apartment, suggesting it might be one of the few possessions she's kept from her real past, from whoever she was before she became Holly Golightly. This mirror knew Lula Mae Barnes, and it refuses to be fooled by the sophisticated mask Holly wears for the rest of the world. Holly's apartment window faces north, a detail so subtle that set designers likely chose it without realizing it's symbolic. Wait. But for a character obsessed with escape, with movement, with never staying anywhere too long, the northern exposure becomes deeply meaningful. North represents the unknown, the frontier, the places on maps that promise new beginnings. Throughout the film, Holly is drawn to that window like a moth to flame. She stands there in moments of crisis, in moments of decision, in moments when the walls of her constructed life begin to close in. The northern light that filters through represents possibility, escape, the promise that somewhere out there is a place where she can finally stop running. But the detail that changes everything is this: Holly never actually leaves through that window. She talks about Brazil, about going away, about finding new adventures, but she always returns to that same window, looking out at the same northern view. The window becomes less about escape and more about the illusion of escape, the comfort of knowing she could leave, even if she never actually does. The northern exposure also means Holly's apartment never gets the warm southern light that might make it feel like home. Instead, she lives in cool, indirect light, beautiful, but somehow distant, like everything else in her carefully constructed world. Even the sunlight in Holly's life is filtered, processed, kept at a safe remove from her heart. In the corner of Holly's bedroom sits a leather suitcase, expensive, well-traveled, and perpetually packed. This detail, easily dismissed as set decoration, reveals the core truth about Holly Golightly. She's never actually moved into her own life. She's been living in temporary quarters for so long that permanence has become impossible. The suitcase represents more than just Holly's nomadic tendencies. It's a symbol of her emotional state. She keeps her most precious possessions in that case, ready to grab and run at a moment's notice. But what's heartbreaking is that those precious possessions are mostly empty symbols. Jewelry that isn't really hers. Photographs of people she's already left behind. Mementos of a life she never actually lived. Watch how Holly interacts with that suitcase throughout the film. She opens it frequently, touching its contents like talismans, but she never actually unpacks it. To unpack would be to admit she's staying, to acknowledge that this place, this life, this version of herself might be permanent. The suitcase keeps her options open, but her heart closed. The detail that changes everything is this: the suitcase contains everything she needs to be happy, but having it packed and ready to go prevents her from ever actually being happy. She's trapped between the fantasy of escape and the reality of arrival, never able to fully commit to either. The suitcase promises freedom, but delivers only the illusion of choice. When Holly sits on her fire escape with her guitar, singing Moon River to the empty night, she reveals the most profound detail in the entire film. The song itself becomes a character, a voice for emotions Holly can't express in ordinary conversation. But the detail that went unnoticed is this: Holly never finishes the song. Every time we hear Holly sing Moon River, she trails off, distracted or interrupted before reaching the end. This isn't just a quirk of editing, it's a perfect metaphor for Holly's entire existence. She starts things, relationships, conversations, dreams, but she never sees them through to completion. She's trapped in an eternal verse, never reaching the chorus, never finding resolution. The lyrics of Moon River speak of crossing streams and chasing dreams, of two drifters off to see the world. But Holly sings alone on her fire escape, the second drifter nowhere to be found. The song becomes both a prayer and a lament, a hope for connection and an acknowledgement of solitude. What makes this detail so powerful is that Moon River is the only completely honest moment in Holly's performance. When she sings, the mask drops, the accent fades, and we hear something authentic, the voice of Lula Mae Barnes singing to comfort Holly Golightly. The song becomes a bridge between her past and present selves, a melody that connects the girl she was with the woman she's trying to become. The film ends with Holly and Paul finding each other in the rain, but the detail that transforms our understanding of the entire movie lies in what we don't see, the morning after. Throughout the film, Holly has been chasing dawn, seeking the promise of new beginnings, but she's trapped in an eternal night of her own making. The famous final scene in the rain represents Holly's moment of truth, her decision to stop running and claim love, but it happens in darkness, in storm, in chaos. The detail that changes everything is this. We never see Holly in daylight with Paul, never see her comfortable in the clear light of honest morning. The film ends with promise, but leaves the fulfillment of that promise in shadow. This ambiguity isn't accidental. It's the film's final, subtle acknowledgement that transformation isn't instant, that choosing love doesn't immediately cure the wounds that made love seem impossible. Holly's journey toward authenticity begins in that rainy alley, but the real work lies ahead. In all the mornings we'll never see. The dawn Holly seeks throughout the film isn't just about time of day. It's about the possibility of starting over, of waking up as someone new, someone real, someone capable of accepting love without running. Whether Holly ever finds that dawn, whether she ever unpacks that suitcase, or names that cat, or finishes that song, remains beautifully, heartbreakingly uncertain. The detail that changes everything about Breakfast at Tiffany's is this. It's not a love story. It's a ghost story. The tale of a woman haunted by her own unfulfilled possibilities, finally glimpsing the chance to become real. After 60 years, the secret finally emerges from the shadows of Fifth Avenue. The detail that changes everything about Breakfast at Tiffany's isn't hidden in a single prop or line of dialogue. It's woven through every frame, every gesture, every choice Audrey Hepburn made in bringing Holly Golightly to life. Holly's entire existence is performance, but the most profound detail is this. She's not performing for others. She's performing for herself, trying desperately to convince her own heart that this beautiful, tragic masquerade is actually living. Every morning ritual at Tiffany's, every unnamed cat, every unpacked suitcase is part of an elaborate theater designed to keep her own authentic self at bay. The film's enduring power lies not in its glamour or romance, but in its unflinching portrait of what it costs to live as a beautiful lie. Holly Golightly isn't just a character, she's a warning, a cautionary tale about the price of perfection, the danger of performing happiness instead of living it. This detail changes everything, because it transforms our understanding of Holly's journey. She's not a free spirit or a charming eccentric. She's a woman so afraid of her own truth that she's created an entire false life to avoid confronting it. The Breakfast at Tiffany's becomes not a whimsical ritual, but a daily recommitment to fantasy over reality. 60 years later, Holly Golightly continues to haunt audiences because her struggle is timeless. In our age of social media performance and carefully curated lives, her story feels more relevant than ever. We're all standing outside our own Tiffany's, pressing our faces against the glass of lives we think we should want, afraid to claim the messy, imperfect reality of who we actually are. The detail that changes everything about Breakfast at Tiffany's is this. It's not about finding love. It's about finding the courage to exist authentically in a world that rewards beautiful lies. Holly's true transformation isn't in Paul's arms. It's in the moment she stops performing and starts living. What do you think? Have you noticed this hidden detail in your viewings of the film? What other secrets do you think Holly Golightly was keeping? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden stories from Hollywood's golden age. The truth is always more beautiful than the performance, and sometimes far more heartbreaking.